Good morning, children. In the last class, we have already read 2 stanzas. So today we are going to start with the 3rd stanza. Though stanzas are not clear in this poem, but for our convenience, I have divided it into stanzas. So let's see. If we were not so single-minded about keeping our lives moving, the poet here says that the people on this earth are single-minded. Single-minded means they have their concentration on only one aim. They have only one target, and that is how to earn more and more. How to earn more and more material things. All the people are day and night working to earn more and more. The poet says that if the people were not single-minded, were not obsessed with all the time keeping their lives moving, means with all the time working and working, and at least for once, for a second, they will keep silence. Then their sadness, their sorrow, their misery, their trouble, which they have due to not understanding themselves, can be interrupted, can be removed. The poet says here that our most of the troubles, most of the miseries are only because we don't try to understand ourselves. Day and night we are working only. We have no time to think what we are doing, if we are losing or achieving. The path which we have adopted is right or wrong. Only and only we are working. The poet says that from our busy schedule, if at least we can save a second to analyze our deeds, to analyze ourselves, then most of our troubles, most of our sadness, most of our miseries can be interrupted, can be removed, can be checked. So the poet here appeals to the people who are single-minded, means who are obsessed with only getting more and more in their lives. The poet tells them, suggests them, that they should stop, they should introspect, they should analyze that what they are doing, if they are losing or achieving. Let's see the meaning. Single-minded, concentrating on only one aim. Synonyms are determined, set on, obsessed. Antonym, just opposite, faltering, hesitant, half-hearted. He is single-minded about scoring 100% marks. And he is half-hearted doing this work. Now, let's talk about poetic devices. Alliteration. We were so single-minded. We and were. Both the words have been started with same consonant sound W. In the same way, so single-minded. Both the words here have been started with same consonant sound. Yes. Here in this stanza, there is one more figure of speech, one more poetic device, that is enjambment. First, we'll have to know what is enjambment. Children, you would have seen that in a poem, the line ends, but many a time with the end, the meaning is not complete. And to get the meaning, we have to continue in the next line. That is called enjambment. With the end of the line, if the meaning is not complete, and to get the idea of the poet, to get the thought of the poet, to get the meaning of the line, we have to continue in the next line, that is called enjambment. Here you can see, for once could perhaps a huge silence. The line ends here. But the meaning is clear? No. We'll have to continue in the next line. Might interrupt this sadness. The huge silence might interrupt this sadness. Now the meaning is complete. And just opposite to enjambment, there is end stopped line. Where with the end of the line, the meaning is also clear. That is called end stopped line. You can see the example of the poem A Thing of Beauty. You can see this stanza. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Here the line also ends. Meaning is also clear. A thing of beauty is a joy forever. Its loveliness increases. Here also the meaning is clear. Its loveliness increases day by day. It will never. But here, it will never. The line ends. But meaning is not clear. So we'll have to come into the next line. It will never pass into nothingness. So in this stanza, there is example of both kinds of lines. Enjambment also and end stopped line also. Those who prepare green wash with gas, wash with fire, victory with no survivors, would put on clean clothes and walk about with their brothers in the shade. Here the poet has an earnest appeal to those persons, to those people who in one way or other are involved in wars. Whether it is the war against environment or war in the battlefield. The poet requests those persons to put on clean clothes, means to have new approach towards lives. They should have clean ideas. They should have good ideas. Means they should stop the war. They should walk about with their brothers in the shade. In the shade means in the peace, in the harmony. They should walk with their brothers. Brothers means here all the people of the world. Means they should try to bring brotherhood. They should try to create fraternity. They should forget enmity. Doing nothing, what I want, should not be confused with total inactivity. The poet has told in the very first stanza that we should stop doing anything. We should not speak in any language. We should keep quiet. Here the poet wants to clarify his views. He says doing nothing doesn't mean complete inactivity. He doesn't tell us to be passive, to be inactive, to be idle, to be lazy. He says that life is what it is about. I want no truck with death. He says that he doesn't like such kind of silence which is brought by death. After death also there is silence. But he doesn't talk about such kind of silence. He says that he doesn't want to see the dead bodies which are carried by the trucks after war. So he only wants that we should walk on the path of peace. We should move on the path of peace. We should try to create a peaceful world. We should try to create peaceful atmosphere. We should try to live in unity. Greenwash. Greenwash means wash against environment, polluting. We are polluting the atmosphere, polluting environment, killing wild animals. We are engaged in deforestation. All these activities are greenwash. Clean clothes. Clean clothes. This word symbolizes peace and change in one's perspective, one's outlook. Let's talk about poetic devices. Paradox. So, what is paradox first of all? Earlier also we have discussed. A statement which contradicts itself. Like, I always tell a lie. So if I say I always tell a lie, if this is truth, I always tell a lie, it means I always don't tell a lie. So here the statement contradicts itself. So paradox is a poetic device in which the statement contradicts itself. Here you can see victory with no survivors. So first of all the poet talks about victory and again he says no survivors. So if victory can be imagined if there are no survivors to celebrate, so here the statement of victory contradicts itself by the phrase with no survivors. Victory cannot be imagined without any survivor if there are no survivors to celebrate the victory. Alliteration. Wash with. The both words have been started with same consonant sound, W. Clean clothes. The both words have been started with same consonant sound, C. Assonance. Repetition of vowel. Here the repetition of vowel O, you can see victory, no, survivors, would, on, close. So the figure of speech assonance has been used. What is assonance? Repetition of same vowel sound. The figure of speech repetition has been also used. In the first line also was. In the second line also was 2 times. So what is repetition? The repetition of word or phrase more than 1 time to secure emphasis. The purpose of repetition is to secure emphasis, to emphasize the fact. So here, by the repetition of the word war, the poet lays emphasis on the fact that the war must be stopped. Perhaps the earth can teach us as when everything seems dead and later proves to be alive. Here the poet suggests us to take lesson from the earth. We should be patient like earth. As in winter season, everything seems to be dead, seems to be lifeless. But the earth doesn't lose its patience. It waits for the time, and after a break, after an interval, After some months, the spring comes and the things come back to life. So the poet here giving example of the earth wants to tell us that after taking a pause, after taking a break, after an interval, after keeping quiet for some time, we can also analyze ourselves. We can also analyze our deeds. We can analyze whether we are wrong or right. And then accordingly, we can correct ourselves. We can modify ourselves. And we can restart. So here also the poet clarifies his views that quiet doesn't mean inactivity. But quiet means only a pause, only a break, so that we can analyze ourselves. Now I'll count up to 12 and you keep quiet and I'll go. At last the poet says that as he has conveyed his message, as his work is over, so he wants to leave people alone so that they can analyze themselves, they can analyze their deeds, they can introspect. And now he will go because he has conveyed the message. Symbol. Here the earth symbolizes life under apparent stillness, life under complete silence, life behind death. The poet wants to tell us that things die only to be reborn. There is life after death. Poetic devices, antithesis. What is antithesis? A poetic device which has two opposite ideas. So you see the line? As when everything seems dead. Here in this line, the poet is talking about death. And just in the next line, and later proves to be a lie, the poet is talking about life. So, in these two lines, the poet has given two opposite ideas. Therefore, here, poetic device, antithesis has been used. Personification. Personification is a poetic device in which animals, plants, or non-living things are treated like human beings. Here the earth is a non-living thing, but it has been personified. It has been treated like human being. Here the earth is our teacher. So the figure of speech, personification, has been used here. You can see one more example of personification. I spied a small lonely boy. I was his beautiful red balloon. Here a red balloon has been personified. Central idea, the message conveyed through this poem, the underlying theme of this poem. Through this poem, the poet tries to tell us that we should not be involved in any kind of destructive activities. We should be sympathetic, kind, friendly towards each and every creature on the earth. Each and every living being on the earth, whether it is a plant or animal or human being. The poet also lays a stress on the fact that we must have time to analyze ourselves, to introspect. And at last, the main thing that the poet wants to tell us is that we should create a peaceful and harmonious world. So children, hope you must have followed. That's all. Thanks. And don't forget to do assignment. You write the summary of the poem. Okay. Thank you.